I'm always reminded, PayPal and subscribe so he can be paid. Why don't you apply to Trudeau for funding or something? No, don't do that. My guest is John Tory. He's a lawyer, he's a businessman, he knows politics. And I'm reading from an article in a paper. It says, Ottawa won't overhaul access to information. Access to information, from my point of view, is all about democracy, how you find out how your money is being spent. Now this government is saying, yes, there are problems, we aren't going to overhaul it. You know government. Am I correct? You need to know the information?
Well, you do. I mean, what do they say? The best bleach, the best cleanser is sunlight.
Yeah.
And years ago when freedom of information was a wish and a dream, that's what people said. It will lead to better government because there'll be transparency. But the hope that anybody's going to overhaul a system that has now been captured by those who are the ones to be held to account by freedom of information, it means there's no chance it'll be reformed. No chance.
That's rather pessimistic, though. I mean, they are gearing up with more and more lawyers in Ottawa in order to defeat access to information. All these agencies say we don't want anybody to know what we're doing, but really, that's going to be government overrun.
But we don't want the government to hire up more lawyers in order to do all that.
But they're doing it.
The private sector people often, who are the ones, that are wanting to keep information private, or the bureaucrats, have more lawyers. They have a lot of lawyers, and so do the private sector people, who often, let's not forget, they don't want that information sometimes to be public either.
Absolutely.
So if you really sort of think about it, who does want the information to be public? The journalists, the opposition parties. That may be about the end of the list. I mean, maybe a competitor who's disgruntled, but everybody else doesn't want it because, the sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander.
Well, if you're a minister in the government and you're doing a great job, you may want some of that stuff public.
Maybe.
So,
I mean, that's all the people around you may not. I mean,
if you're a bad minister, you won't. But that's what government's all about.
The system has been captured, and I've seen it at 3 levels of government, and it's captured at all 3, where you can bog it down, you can delay it, you can run out the string, you can hire lawyers, you can do all this stuff. And this legislation that's actually meant to be pretty straightforward. Yeah. You make a request. I think it's 30 days later. You're supposed to have an answer, and except for things that are like thousands of pages, most of the answers could come fairly quickly because they're fairly straightforward. But do they come? No. 6 months later, no answer, lawyers, correspondence back and forth, and the clock runs out.
So people watching this right now are sitting there saying, well, what are we going to do? They're throwing up their hands. John Tory is saying that we'll never get that information.
I think, a lot of it will come much later when the question's gone away or something like that. That's the objective, like rope-a-dope people until they just give up. And I think a lot of people do give up. And I mean, I'm not unduly cynical about these things, but I just think the system has been captured. And the notion that it is going to be big government itself that is going to fix it, I don't think it's going to happen.
Unless it becomes an issue in an election and a government
You and I
is
know
elected.
that. Come on now. What election ever turned on freedom of information?
No, it's usually lack of the information because there's been corruption.
These are not going to be the issues. And so the thing will go on, and no matter what attempts are made to fix it, I don't think they'll be successful.
John Tory, realist, 3 minutes. Liberties and freedom of speech are under attack in Canada like never before. So let's keep this discussion on the air. PayPal, write a check, and please include your address so I can write a thank you letter to you. And ask your friends, please subscribe. It's important to keep this on the air. And thank you.